Hi, I am your host, Lyanette Talley, and you are listening to Virago 24/7. Virago is Latin for female warrior, and 24/7 is for all day, every day. Virago 24/7 is a weekly podcast that brings diverse women together to talk about life and our experiences in this world. We share our views on self-love, mental health, marriage, children, friendships, and really anything that needs to be talked about. Here, you will find everyday growth, everyday healing with everyday warriors.
Just give me my space to move. 'Cause it's my thoughts, what I want, and I want what I want.
Hey everybody, what's going on? Hope you've been having a good past, I think it's been 2 weeks since last time I was here. Hope everyone's doing well. I am doing great, working at the office, and my youngest went back to school, so we're she goes to a homeschool program, so I have to drive her a few times a week, about 30 minutes away. So it's been nice getting back on a routine, and yeah, hope everybody's doing well going back to school. And as we were driving today up, Corinne had ballet and she does math tutoring. So as we were driving up there this morning, she's all excited about fall is here and almost here. And that got me excited too. I love fall weather and football season. So yeah, we're excited about that. We like summer. Summer's always fun going out of town, but we love our fall. And yeah, so as always, I love being here with you guys. Today I'm by myself. So we got a solo podcast today. And it's so crazy because sometimes I don't even know what I'm going to talk about. Actually, not sometimes. A lot of times I have no idea what I'm going to talk about when I'm by myself. You know, when I have people, I can feed off people's energy and I know things to ask and keep the conversation going. But when I'm by myself, I half the time don't even know what I'm going to talk about. So, you know, if you've heard me talk, you guys know that I have my faith and that I believe in God and I pray and I meditate and I do all the things. And so I just wait for a message to hit me. And then I'm like, oh, I'm going to talk about that. And then it'll be like a small little snippet. And then I, you know, kind of do research and kind of elaborate on that. So that's what happened last week. Philip and I, we were watching The Chosen, and I've talked about that show before, but we were watching The Chosen. And for those who don't know what that is, it's a show about Jesus and his disciples. And the reason we love it is because it's one of those shows that brings them to life, like really to life. I know there's a lot of movies and things that have been done in the past, but they really have personalities that you can connect to, and the stories that you hear in the Bible, it's like they bring them to reality in a way that you feel it. And so the very last episode that we watched, because we're a little behind, we've been busy, so we haven't been watching it consistently, but if you've heard, and they had shown this character before in another episode, but this was kind of like the culmination of it coming to fruition. The story of the bleeding woman. So if anybody knows anything about the Bible, and I'm not an expert, so I'm just giving you what I know and also, you know, what the show is about. But it's this woman who's been bleeding for years, and for 12 years to be exact. And she's an outcast. She lives way away from the town because when you're bleeding, you're unclean. And it's this whole thing that I am not an expert on, but I just know that there's women that were bleeding, had to be away from people and you couldn't touch them and all these things. So, you know, they show her, you know, going to the water by herself to clean her robes because she just bleeds through them, and basically just living this isolated life. And so there's there's a day where I believe he's the priest and his daughter's very sick, and he's like, Jesus, I need you to come to my house. I need you to heal her. And so Jesus is like, yes, of course. So he's going. And she hears and with my research, let's give her a name, because with my research, I read in multiple places on multiple websites that her name could have been Veronica. So let's call her Veronica, not the bleeding woman. So let's give her a name. So Veronica heard that Jesus was, coming into the town. And she's like, oh my gosh, if I can just be near him, maybe just touch him, and she knew that touching him was prohibited. So just even the edge of his cloak, if I can just touch it, I know I'll be healed. I just know it. I know it. I know it. So so Jesus is going through the crowds, and there's like a mob when they see him. So imagine him in the middle and just everyone surrounding him like, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. So she's trying to get through this crowd, and you see her just like desperately trying to get close to him. And it's crazy because like you feel it, like you're just like, okay, she's so close. And she felt so desperate because he was getting away. And, because he's trying to get to this 12-year-old girl to heal her. And so she finally just falls to the ground and just grabs a hold of this very small corner of his cloak. And you can see this energy just being dragged out of him. And he felt it and he stopped. And she falls to the ground and he turns around. And he's like, who touched me? Like, who touched me? And the disciples are like, well, everyone's touched you. There's a mob out here. So it could have been anybody. He's like, no, someone touched me on purpose. And it just took the energy out of me. So she's like, sheepish, like she's freaking out, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be in trouble. And she's on the ground and the crowd's part and she's like on the ground and he sees her and he's like, did you touch me? And well, he says, I'm trying to remember. He says, my daughter, look up. And she says, I'm nobody's daughter. And he says, you are daughter. And she's on the ground and he's kind of standing over her and she's like nervous and she's just like, she just goes on to say that, I knew if I just touched your cloak that I would be healed, that, I just knew it. And he says, it wasn't my clothing that healed you. It was your faith. And he says, and I don't think this is in the Bible, they kind of paraphrase a lot and add to the show to kind of, bring it to life. But when I read it in the Bible, it doesn't go into this whole lengthy thing. But he says, you have blessed me today. And this is where I start bawling. I'm listening to this and you see her crying and you see her kind of terrified, like, oh my gosh, I'm in trouble because I touched him. And there was another person who was like, I can take her. And he's like, no, leave her. We're having a moment. Just leave us alone. And this is where I just start bawling because he looks at her and he's like, you've blessed me today. I know, my daughter, it has been a fight for you for so long. You must be exhausted. And she's crying and she's nodding and like, yes, like he sees me. It's like he saw her and she was seen for the first time. Like, yes, been exhausted for so long. And he says to her, go in peace. Your faith has made you well. And when I said I cry like a baby, because sometimes we just go through life and you just feel like, all right, I overcame this. All right, wonderful. Now I can breathe. And then something else happens and it's like, okay, let me overcome this. Let me learn the lessons. Let me, learn the things. And then you overcome that and then something else. So it's just like, sometimes it feels like this never ending thing. And it doesn't matter what walk of life you're in. It doesn't matter. Like right now, I have friends that, lately we're sharing our stories and we're all going through something and it's all very different and it all looks very different, but we're all feeling the same. It doesn't matter that, okay, this might be worse or that might be not as bad, but our feelings are valid and our feelings are the same. And everything that we are feeling is we're feeling exhausted, just emotionally exhausted. And when I saw that, I was crying, boo-hoo-hoo tears. Philip was like consoling me. I'm like, I felt that in my soul. And I mean, I just feel like as women, we're carrying the mental load. Even if we're married, we're carrying the mental load, and we're dealing with sicknesses and illnesses and being a mother and being a daughter and being a good friend and being a good wife and being all the things. And even if you've seen the Barbie movie, we went like after the fact. I had heard about the monologue that was in there by America Ferrera. And if you don't know, look it up. I'm not going to read it right now, but it's this whole monologue about women and all the contradictions that go along with being a woman, all these things that we have to uphold, but then there's a contradiction to that. And it's just exhausting. So feeling that, I'm like, wow, this woman is so tired. And she was like, I just need some healing and I just need some peace in my life. And that's all she wanted. And it just got me to think there has to be some lessons from that, because with anything, I always want to find the lesson in it. Why was I touched? Why was I crying? Why did it affect me so much? And it's just when he said, you must be exhausted. You've been fighting for so long. You must be exhausted. And I know that most of us, if not all of us women, can truly feel that in our spirit and in our soul. And, that's why it touched me so much. So it got me thinking, what are the lessons? Let's look it up. What can we learn from Veronica? And so, I go researching and I'm looking for articles because I know someone's written something out there about, about Veronica. So I found this article on rocksolidfaith.ca. And it was the 7 lessons that you can learn from the bleeding woman. And number one was patience. It says, that this woman had to wait 12 long years to receive her healing. And she didn't lose patience. And even when her condition seemed hopeless and she felt hopelessness, she knew that her healing would come eventually. Her patience teaches us to trust God's timing in our lives. And isn't that the truth? Because I know my patience is not always the best. And we want when we want it, and we want it now. And realizing that it all is in his timing. And, as frustrating as it can be, it's always in his timing. Number 2 from that list was the courage to seek help. It says Veronica was brave enough to seek help, despite the social stigma attached to her condition. She knew that she needed help and was willing to go to great lengths to find it. Her story reminds us we should never be afraid to ask for help when we need it. And that's interesting. I just had this conversation with my friend Adrian, who was a missionary in the Dominican Republic. And I think she did that for sure over 7 years. And then in the past 2 to 3 years, she's moved back to the States, went to seminary school, and now she's back in Georgia, in Atlanta, Georgia, and she's pastoring. But she was just saying, coming back to the United States, how she sees the difference in how we all live. Americans want to live in isolation and we want to do things on our own because we're strong and we don't want to ask for help. And we just kind of all live in our bubbles. And she was saying, like in other cultures, and for her, the Dominican Republic, she's been around that culture and those people, they are more about community and coming together, whether you're married, whether you're single, whether you have kids. Like they all come together to help each other out. And it's more of an open door policy. They're not afraid to ask for help. And it's more of a togetherness. And, I'm part Dominican. I wasn't raised there. I really don't know the culture. I've only been there, a few times in my life. But, I can see what she's saying. Like when I have been there, I see how they live and they all do live together. My family comes from a small village and they're all right there. So you always have somebody to help out or someone to give you food or, just more community. And here in the U.S., you do feel isolated. You do feel like you have to do life on your own, which is so why for me, that's why I love my tribe, is because that's my outlet. We can be real. We can open up. We can give each other advice. And when you find those people, you're not afraid to ask for help or to be vulnerable. But that's so hard. That's really, really hard to do. It's very intentional that you have to be in order to get that tribe. And, unfortunately, for whatever reason, this country has made it so that we're more individual with our own, immediate family. And, but this story teaches us to ask for help no matter what. Number 3, faith over fear. She could have easily been consumed by fear and despair, but she chose to have faith instead. Her story reminds us that we should not let fear control our lives. We should have faith in God's plan for us and trust that He will see us through even the most difficult times. And that's funny that I'm just now reading that, because today I was doing my devotionals, and it's this on the Bible app. It is called Faith Over Fear. And so this one today was basically sharing that, there's times where God gives you this vision and He's telling you, I'm taking you here. And then because we get scared and we see some maybe something faulty in His plan, we don't really see it. So we poke holes in it and we become fearful. And I can totally relate to that. There's times where I doubt myself, and even recently in my head, I haven't said it out loud. I'm going to say it out loud right here today to you all, where I'm like, what am I doing? Give up the podcast, give up all these other things that you're trying to do for it. I'm trying to do these things behind the scenes that hopefully eventually I'll let everyone know what I'm trying to do. But I'm like, what am I doing? Let's give that up. Let's just quit. And it's all fear-based. And I know that I'm being led somewhere, but the fear in me is trying to kind of sabotage that plan. So I could totally relate to that, because today's devotional really spoke to me. And there was a prayer that I wrote down that I don't have in front of me, but I wrote it down. And I'm like, anytime I feel like I'm doubting myself, I need to go back to that prayer and really just say it out loud and feel it in my bones. And it's just basically reminding myself that God has a plan. He has a plan. He has a plan. And I can't let fear, get in the way of that. Number 4 on the list was persistence. Veronica had to push through a crowd of people to get to Jesus. Her persistence paid off when she finally touched His garment and was healed. This reminds us of the importance of persistence in achieving our goal. We should never give up on our dreams and keep pushing forward, even when the odds seem against us. I love that word, persistence. That's what I'm trying to teach my kids. I think I talked about that last week on my last show, or 2 weeks before, 2 weeks ago. Persistence and perseverance. Those are 2 big words that I'm trying to teach my kids. Number 5 was faith. She believed that if she could just touch Jesus's cloak, she would be healed. Her faith was so strong that she didn't even need to see Jesus's face to be healed. We can learn that anything is possible if we have faith. And number 6 is courage. It said in this article, in the culture of that time, a woman with a hemorrhage was considered unclean and was not allowed to touch anyone. Her courage teaches us to have the courage to take risks in our own lives, even if it means going against the norm. And number 7, humility. When Veronica was healed, she didn't boast or draw attention to herself. Instead, she tried to quietly slip away. Her humility is a powerful lesson for us today. It teaches us to be humble in our accomplishments and to remember that our blessings come from God. So in watching that scene, I knew there was lessons to be taken away. And I was right. When I found this article, I was like, this is it. These are great. So it's patience, courage to seek help, faith over fear, persistence, faith, courage, humility. Those are the lessons we can take away from Veronica. I really needed that. I'm like a roller coaster with my emotions. Some days I feel like I got it. I have got this. And some weeks I'm just like, Life is hard. It's crazy because, my outwardly life looks amazing, and it is amazing. It doesn't just look amazing. It is pretty awesome, but my internal struggles are real, and like the doubts that we have within ourselves are very real. And that exhaustion that, he was seeing in her, I think he sees in all of us women. He sees that we're doing the best that we can, even though emotionally we're just ready to tap out like a wrestler, just tap out like uncle. What was that called? Uncle. Yeah. Like back in the day when I used to wrestle with my brothers, they like, just call uncle. And you're like hitting the ground. Uncle. Anyways. If you listened to last week's show, then you heard me mention a new product that I started drinking called Magic Mind. And so I've been using it the past 2 weeks. I think it's been 2 to 3 weeks now. And it has helped with my energy, and it's helped with my focus, and it is helping me with my anxiety. So just this past weekend, I was actually 2 weekends ago, I was in a CrossFit competition. And I don't like to eat, or I don't like to drink coffee. I don't like to do any of that in the mornings before competition because it just doesn't sit well with me. I woke up and I drank water and I ate a banana, actually like half a banana, not really a whole one. And then I took Magic Mind instead of, drinking coffee. And I'm going to tell you, the night before, I did not go to bed early. I did not get a full night's sleep. And I was so tired when I woke up, but I took Magic Mind, no lie. And I was alert. I was energized. I felt well. I performed I'm kind of shocked at how I performed in the competition because I haven't been really working out consistently. So I was very proud of how I performed. And I honestly, I'm going to give a little shout out to Magic Mind because I feel like they helped me through my competition and they gave me all of the energy that I needed for that day. So Magic Mind, it has 6 natural ingredients. It has matcha. And matcha has caffeine in it. And it says that caffeine from matcha takes longer to release and it helps reduce stress. And it also has, let me make sure I'm saying it correctly, ashwagandha, which has been used medicinally for years, for centuries, actually, for thousands of years. It's an adaptogen that reduces anxiety and stress. It also has lion's mane mushrooms, and that also helps with reducing anxiety, inflammation, and it supports cognition. It has 3 other ingredients. Like I said last week, I don't even want to try to pronounce them, but they all help with focus, energy levels, and memory, which is something I feel like we all need in our lives. So if any of this is speaking to you, I totally recommend it, that you try it. You can go to www.magicmind.com/Virago and enter code Lyanette, Lyanette, the number 20. You can get up to 56% off the subscription or 20% off of your one-time purchase. So that's Lyanette 20, Lyanette 20 for 56% off. And Magic Mind will guarantee 100% money back. So if you don't like it, no questions asked, there's no risk, they'll refund you. Like I said, I love it. I'm going to continue to use it. Again, it's www.magicmind.com/Virago with the discount code Lyanette 20 for up to 56% off subscription. So getting the 30 pack is the best value. And if you start using it, please let me know. I would love to hear what you think. To hear more amazing female warrior stories, hit that subscribe button and give us a 5-star rating. We would truly appreciate the love. Now back to our show. So going back to Veronica and the lessons that we've learned. After watching that, I just feel like anytime I'm going through something, whatever it is, if it's something that is taking up space in my spirit and my mind, I will sit with it and I feel the feelings. And I'll feel every emotion that comes with it, which is like, it could be a lot, but I kind of isolate myself and feel all the emotions. And I'm learning, though, that I can't live there. So, when I'm watching something like this, like Veronica, or I read something that helps me to put things into perspective, I try to find the lesson that I should learn from it. And I pay attention so that I can apply it to my life. And I never want to sit in those deep feelings forever. I want to feel them and understand where they're coming from and keep it moving, learn the lessons and keep it moving. Feeling those emotions from that scene with Jesus and Veronica and, reading these lessons, it brings me peace and comfort. I just feel like with anything that we go through, and then we can see the lesson from it. Sometimes while we're in it, we're not going to see it, but in retrospect, we can see it. And it does bring me peace and comfort to know that I can learn something from it. These are the moments when I go back to Virago's mission statement, tagline, motto. I haven't figured out what it is. I think it's a mission statement. Everyday growth, everyday healing with everyday warriors. And Veronica was an everyday warrior. She was out there by herself for 12 years, trying to figure out what was wrong with her, being isolated from people, going through turmoil within, being exhausted, fighting a good fight. And I just love to learn from those people. And listen, I'm not trying to be a preacher. I'm not trying to preach. I'm just letting you know, for those who don't believe, you can still take from this. You can still learn lessons from this. Some people look at the Bible and they don't think the stories are real. Listen, it doesn't matter. This is a story. We can take lessons from it. We can understand what she was feeling as far as the exhaustion and when is it going to be my time? When is it finally going to be my time to be healed so that I can live in this world in a content, happy way, in a fulfilled way? So Veronica to me was an everyday warrior. She's just like you and me. And all I can say is that I take the lessons from any everyday warrior that I come in contact with. I don't care where it's from. And I hope you can too, so whatever Virago that we can grow from and heal from, let's do it. So I would love more stories about everyday warriors. So if you have any, please email me. If you have my number, text me. My email is virago247podcast@gmail.com. Wherever you listen to podcasts, there's some notes in there explaining what the show's about. And at the very bottom, I have links to everything, to my socials, to emails, because I'm always wanting to learn from other people. I always want to heal from other people's stories. I always want to grow. I want to do all the things. So any stories like this one, I would love to hear so that I can share them here on Virago 24/7. I will leave you all with this. Bloom beautifully, dangerously, loudly, bloom softly, however you need. Just bloom. Thank you so much for listening to Virago 24/7. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and please give us 5-star ratings. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Virago24_7 and on Facebook at Virago24/7. And just connect with us and share your story. We'd love to hear from you.